If I keep on looking up, apologies. I wanted to make sure that my face was like centered and I could see myself. Hey there, I hope that you're well and staying safe. I wish that I could be here in person doing this talk, but unfortunately due to lockdown restrictions that is not possible. My name is Rachel and I'm going to be leading this session on how productivity is powerful, and I'll be talking a little bit about myself, so talking about how I've managed a blog, a business, studying and getting good grades, family life, extracurriculars, etc, and how you can do the same. So organizing your life, managing your time effectively so that you can do all the things that you want to do and still have fun on top of that. When I was about 11 or so, I started a blog. I called it Rachel Rules the World. It was incredibly cringy. I don't think that the content was very good, and honestly I don't really want to go back and read that content, but it was a start and I really enjoyed it at the time, and I actually continued doing that for quite a few years, and that led to me working with authors, and authors used to send me books for me to read before they came out so that I could like publish a review of it and people would feel incentivized to go and buy the book. I was working with like Scholastic and HarperCollins at the age of like 15, so that was amazing and a really great opportunity, but reading 2 to 3 books a week gets time consuming, as well as writing all the reviews and trying to work with all of these different publishing houses. So after quite a few years of reviewing books and writing down all of my notes for my reviews, I amassed quite a big notebook collection, and it got to the point where my parents were saying, no, Rachel, you can't have any more notebooks, and I started selling them, and since then I have started designing my own products, promoting them myself, working with influencers and YouTubers, so that's been a great experience but incredibly time consuming. I have spent so much time working on that and balancing that with sixth form life and studying. So personally, I have brought all the resources that I pretty much used when I was younger, and I'm going to explain how I used to organise myself. I just want to preface what I'm showing you by saying I was a very busy person from ages about 14 to 17. Please do not think that you have to go out and get all of these things to be productive and manage your time, because it's really personal how you manage your time and no one can really tell you the precise way that you need to do that. So I'm going to show you what I was doing, and then I'm going to give you some advice, and be sure to take on that advice, but ultimately pick whatever you think will suit you. Honestly, a diary has been my best friend for a while. I love diaries. These are the 3 that I used during sixth form. The reason that I didn't like using school diaries was because I had loads of different commitments and I wanted to keep that in one place, and the planners that they gave me at my school only used to say Monday to Friday. I wanted something that said Monday to Sunday, but these are the ones that I used most effectively, and I'll show you a little bit of what's inside, but beware, it does look manic. I use these diligently. Like the first time that I got homework, they went in here. Any reminders, any notes, anything that I needed to know went in my diary. My diary went everywhere with me, even if I was just going to go to like netball practice and I knew I was going to be running around and I didn't need it. It came with me, because if I had anything that I wanted to remind myself of, anything that I needed to know, it was going to be in my diary. I use slightly different planning methods. So I have colour coded between my different classes in 2019, whereas in 2017 I tended to colour code between my business, my blog, and then my school and sixth form work, and then any other extracurricular activities would be highlighted, or if there wasn't much going on the day, then I would leave it. But over the past few years, my style of planning has changed quite significantly. and I recommend to everyone that they get a diary, but it doesn't have to be a physical one. You can instead use your phone as a diary. So I will list some apps that you can use which are really good and function really well as diaries, or just to keep regular notes. And when I wanted to schedule out something specific, I used to use a to-do list sheet or a weekly planning sheet. And these planning pads are really useful for organising your day in a lot of depth. So going through what you want to do in the morning, afternoon, evening, and making specific to-do lists of things that you might want to achieve during your study and revision sessions. And these are some of the ones that are featured in my store, but you're always free to make your own and customise it to all of your needs and personal preferences. The first thing that you really need to know when you're trying to be more productive and manage your time is how you currently manage your time. Without understanding what you're currently doing, I don't think there's any good and effective way that you can improve. So do you procrastinate? Do you leave things to the last minute? Do you tend to get distracted a lot when you're doing projects? Is it a case of when you're not passionate about what you're doing, you just don't really care and leave it by the wayside? What is it that really makes you do work, and do you feel like you're very effective personally? Knowing what issues that you have is so valuable so that you can put in place things to improve. Otherwise, if you don't know what you're improving on, I don't think there's any effective way that you can actually do better. So be sure to evaluate yourself and know what you want to improve on and what your current strengths and weaknesses are when it comes to productivity and time management, so that you can do better and you can improve on your productivity. So there's something called the 1 year rule, which is meant to be really motivating and effective for people when they're trying to figure out what their productivity and time management goals should be. So all you have to do is ask yourself, what things would you in 1 year from now regret not starting today? So I'll repeat that. What things would you 1 year from now regret not starting today? So it's meant to be really thought-provoking and support you in thinking, okay, so what would future you not appreciate you doing now? Whether that is sitting and watching Netflix for 3 hours a day, or not doing that reading for your history class, or not practicing and doing practice papers for an exam that's upcoming. Like, you have to think of what your future you would appreciate you doing so that you can sort of live without those regrets. The 1 year rule is meant to be really effective, and I would definitely take a look at doing that. On the activity sheet, I'm going to have the 1 year rule and a couple of other follow-up questions so that you can really think about what you should be putting in place right now and how that can support you in a year's time. Okay, so now on to planning your time, which is probably one of the biggest factors which goes into effective time management and productivity. And honestly, I think the best thing that I can recommend is that you plan the night before. If you wake up in the morning with a list of things to do right next to you, you feel a lot more energized and prepared and ready to get out of bed than if you're sitting in bed thinking, oh, I think I've got 1 or 2 things to do, but you haven't actually got them written down. I do this personally, especially when I'm not feeling very motivated, and making a list of things that you have to do and things that you're interested and passionate about getting done can really help. So I always recommend planning the night before. So I'm sure one thing that your teachers and parents have told you to do is break up big projects and assignments into smaller chunks. And this is called time boxing or time blocking. And it can just be really effective at helping you get started. Because honestly, if you've ever had an essay or an assignment or a project that you needed to get started on and you just haven't felt encouraged because there's so much of it to do, this is probably going to help you get started, or at least get something done of it. I really like to time block my essays. So I get so many essays with my degree, and the way that I like to separate it is into a 4-day plan. So the first day will be me researching and making sure that I understand the topic that I'm meant to be writing this essay on. This is great because it gives me the opportunity to go back to my class notes, take a look at them, see if there was something I didn't really understand, and then figure out what that means before I actually start my essay. Then, second step is planning, writing an effective plan of what I want to be in the essay, starting with the introduction, point 1, point 2, point 3, conclusion, etc. And then step 3 is writing my essay. So I'll sit down, I have a hot chocolate in front of me, I have my study music on, and I will get to writing. Then step 4, reviewing the draft. So I've written as much as I can. Some of it, honestly, can be rubbish. I won't lie. My first drafts are never the finished product. But on that final step and that final day, I will be reviewing what I've written. I'll go back to my plan and my research and I'll think, okay, is this correct? Is there anything else that I can add to this? Make sure that it is a solid document that I'm happy to send off. And that's how I time block an essay. And you can do this with loads of other assignments, projects, pieces of work. Let's say that you want to do like a full spring clean of your room. You can separate it out so that you look at your desk first, and then your bookshelf, and then your windowsill, and then your bed, and you can time block out pieces so that it makes it a lot easier for you to get started. The Zeigarnik effect compels humans to finish things that they've already started. So let's say that you've time blocked out things that you want to do. So you're writing an essay like me and you've time blocked out that you've written the plan and you want to write it. Once you've written that plan and you've written most of it, you're going to feel compelled to just finish it. If you have started something, your brain is going to feel encouraged to continue, and that's sort of like what puts people in the study mode. So I think that's really important and a really valuable thing to think of when you're struggling to complete the day. Just think, okay, let me push on with one thing, and hopefully those other things on your list just start to continue to flow. So one thing that is recommended is the Pomodoro method, and science and studies have proved that the Pomodoro method is really helpful in maintaining your focus for a set amount of time. If you haven't heard of it previously, it is a method in which you take 25-minute blocks of maximum productivity in a certain thing. So let's say you're learning vocab on Quizlet, 25 minutes of doing that intensely, followed by a 5-minute break. And that's meant to be really effective so that you can spend time focusing on one thing and then reward yourself with a short break to clear your mind and just regain that energy. I'm sure that you guys have heard the term tidy room, tidy mind, or something similar, but that is genuinely true. Science proves it. If you're in a messy workspace or a messy environment, that is going to make you more distracted, you're going to feel more stress, and those things aren't positive. So what you need to do in order to maximize your productivity is make sure that the environment you're trying to be productive in is tidy. And yes, I'm sorry, it also means tidying your desk, giving your desk a good wipe down if it's getting dirty, organizing your books, etc, etc. But that genuinely makes it easier for you to continue with your work and maintain concentration and be productive. Some people need the encouragement to overcome slumps. So let's say you spent a day or a week away from studying, and for that I always recommend having a long-term accountability partner. Accountability partners are pretty much friends or family members who you can talk about your productivity with. Let's say that you're not feeling too encouraged. Maybe this person can provide you some encouragement or make sure that you're doing your work. And I think it's always good to just have someone next to you or someone who knows what you're trying to achieve, who can really encourage you and make you go forward with your goal. So some tips for studying and staying productive during quarantine. Don't work in your pajamas. I know that some of you guys have been working every single day in a sheep onesie or something super comfortable that you can fall asleep in. Don't let yourself succumb to the idea of being super comfortable, because as much as you want to be comfortable, you don't want to feel tired or drowsy or fall asleep. Think about when you're going to school versus when you have a day off. When you're going to school, you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you're getting dressed in your uniform, and you're going in and getting ready to go into a new environment, and you're studying. You know that's what you're coming to do, so you set your brain up to focus on that task. When you're staying at home, however, you get up whenever you want, you brush your teeth, you eat your breakfast. So as I have said, you need to look at your own life and figure out how is best for you to organise and learn to be productive. It's not something that you can just take from me, and I really wish it was. I could just give you one straight method and then you can implement it in your life and you're super productive. But unfortunately, that is not how it works. You need to evaluate yourself and your own life and figure out what things that you can implement so that you can become more productive and manage your time better. However, I always recommend a planner in some form. It can be a virtual one or a physical one. It might take some test runs, trying out a few different things, but give yourself that leeway and use this lockdown as an opportunity to do that. Be sure, if you're feeling a bit discouraged or you're not feeling very motivated, to take time to plan the day before, and also time block. So also use the Pomodoro method. So 25 minutes of intense concentration and studying, followed by a 5-minute break. This can be really useful for studying or revising for certain things, and can be easier than diluting your concentration over several hours. If you feel like you're overcoming a slump, be sure to have an accountability partner to support you in your goals of productivity and time management. Someone who can check up on you, ask how you're doing, how things are going, and if you're meeting your goals and your targets. And during this quarantine season, be sure to clear your desk and make sure you have a space where you're able to study or carry out whatever tasks you want to. And don't work in your pajamas. It's no good trying to be really productive when you're sitting on a sofa in a sheep onesie, just chilling. Be sure that you're putting on clothes that get you ready for the day. Finally, review your time. Know what's valuable to you, what you found useful, what you haven't found useful, and take the opportunity to sit and reflect on what you could do better. If you don't evaluate your time and you figure out like what's wasting your time, how you could cut time here or spend more time doing something else, then you're going to struggle to be more productive. If you don't feel like there's a good balance in your life, you're spending too much time on one thing and not enough on another, then when you're reflecting and reviewing how you spend your time, that's when you're going to notice it. So be sure to spend some time once in a while to review how you're spending your days and how much attention you're paying to different things. Once again, I'm going to have lists of resources on the worksheet that I provide you guys. And so if you're looking to implement some of the things that I've told you about, but you're looking for some more guidance, that's a place that you need to go to. And if you need any other support, be sure to talk to your teachers or your parents. And if you want to keep up with me, my Instagram handle is going to be here, and so is my website. I have no idea if they're actually going to be there, but I'm going to give it a good shot. If not, they're going to be on your worksheets. So thank you so much for listening, and I wish you all the best. I hope that you all stay safe during this lockdown period and beyond. Thank you so much.